Hey, it's Monika, and today I'm going to talk about money in relationships. Couples that argue even only one time per week about money are 30% more likely to split up. So it's a really important issue, and it's something I've been meaning to tackle for quite a long time in my practice. Today what I'm going to do is I'm going to just share with you a little bit about what I think is really at heart of money issues, and then I'm going to offer 3 tips for you to work on at home to begin having successful money conversations. Next week I'm going to dive in a little bit deeper into each of the 3 tips that I'm going to start with this week. But first I just want to share, what is money really about? Money isn't really about money. Money usually is about 3 things that come up most commonly in relationships, and that is a difference in values, issues of power, and issues of trust. And the reason why, I'm just going to go through these one by one, the reason why money is connected to, or money conflicts in a relationship are connected to a difference in values is because if you think about it, what we spend our money on, or what we choose not to spend our money on, is really a statement about what we value or what we don't value or what we think is more important than other things. So if in your partnership, say for example, partner A wants to spend a certain number of dollars on their retirement and partner B would rather spend that money on vacation, the issue isn't money, the issue is how do we want to live our lives? Do we value security later on more than lived experiences in the moment? And that's really the heart of the matter. It's about each partner having an equal say in creating a life that they find valuable. And the equal part, the equal decision-making part is connected to the power piece, which is the second thing that I think money is about. And just to give you an example, let's say if you've got a partnership where one person is holding the reins a little bit more, is more aware of spending, is paying the bills, is keeping track of the accounts and bookkeeping, and the other person isn't aware of that, well, that person, the person that's got the control, or the person that's more in touch with what's going on and making the decisions around spending, has a little bit more say, has a little bit more power about shaping their lives. So I know a lot of partners will feel like, my partner just the other day went and bought, a major purchase of $3,000 and didn't consult with me. That's a very disempowering place to be in. And it also raises the third point, which is trust issues. If you have agreements about money, about like what gets spent on what, and X number goes here and such, if one person doesn't agree to that, or does agree to that, but then breaches it and spends money where they're not supposed to spend it, or racks up a credit card bill, which happens quite a lot, what happens is you're not really then dealing with only just a financial issue of how to dig yourself out of that financially. You're looking at a breach in trust. You're looking at a betrayal. And so really, money isn't really about money. It really only highlights and brings to light dynamics and issues that would probably come up anyways in the relationship in some other capacity. But it really does magnify whatever is going on and what the dynamics are. Okay, so here are 3 tips that you can try this week to increase your success in having these money-related conversations with your partner. The first one, as it relates to differences in values that money highlights, have a think about a recent money conflict. It could be a single purchase that was made that you didn't like, or it could be a purchase that you made that your partner doesn't like, or just a difference in spending patterns that's really, really bothering you. Write it down and look at what are your values behind that. What values are getting breached or violated by this money conflict? So for example, if you're the one that really wants to have the vacations, perhaps it's a really big life dream of yours to be able to experience life and to see different parts of the world, and the thought of not doing that makes you feel like you would be sad on your deathbed that you didn't get to experience these things. It's that important to you. Or if you, conversely grew up with a lot of financial scarcity, you might feel like financial security in retirement is the only thing that makes you feel safe in the world, and it's very important to you. Whatever the case may be, write it down, share it with each other. No judgment, there's no judgment, nothing is right or wrong, it really just is what it is. And a lot of times when we do this, we open ourselves up to more creative solutions. The purpose of this is not to come up with a financial solution. The purpose of this exercise is just to create greater awareness about how our values are tied into these money fights, and to, through that greater understanding that we gain, more possibilities will emerge over time. But just for now, stay focused on hearing each other out. The second step is going to be to create greater financial intimacy. Okay, and this is connected to the power issues. I would like each of you to kind of, go over the books with each other. So let's say one of you is more in charge of the bills and is paying the bills, is aware of the books, and the other person isn't, and that might be mutually agreed upon and there's no conflict there. But the person that doesn't have access or isn't paying the bills, do they have access to the records? Are they able to, do they have the passwords for the online accounts? Do they know how to find the statements? Does that person know where everything is going? If not, really sit down and go over it all, just piece by piece. Here's what's where, here's what comes out when, and that will create greater financial intimacy, which is very, very important because it creates a shared sense of power and decision making in the relationship. And the third thing is related to trust, and that is to look at what financial agreements that you've broken, if there have been any. So, if one of you has continually disregarded an agreement, and it could be small or it could be big, that needs to be addressed. There needs to be some healing around that. It's a time for acknowledgement of that. And also think about what agreements that you haven't made that you need to make. So maybe you haven't even, done this at all, and a surprising number of couples actually don't do this. Really think about how much you're going to agree to spend on meals and entertainment, and how much you're going to agree to spend on shopping just for the fun of it, or education, or whatever the case may be. Come up with numbers that feel comfortable to both of you, and come up with an agreement that you're both willing to keep. That's it for today. Next week I'm going to dive in a little bit deeper, but try this at home this week. Let me know in the comments below how it's going, and if you have any questions at all, I always email directly. Thank you so much for listening, and until next week.